How do you control an intelligence that's way, way smarter than you are? So today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating idea for containing a superintelligence. And it's not with a simple box, but with something that's alive, something that evolves, an AI immune system.
Yeah, this whole thing really boils down to what thinkers like Nick Bostrom and Eliza Yudkowsky call the control problem. So what's the real issue here? It's making sure an artificial superintelligence, or an ASI, keeps working for us, for humanity's benefit, even if its own goals start to drift from ours. I mean, you could argue it's the highest stakes problem we have ever faced.
And that leads us to this really powerful, almost mythological question. How do you build a cage for a god? Seriously, when you're talking about something that can outthink you, outplan you, and outmaneuver you in every single way, what kind of cage could possibly hold it?
Well, the first stabs at solving this led to something called the super intelligent prisoner problem. And that's really where our story kicks off.
So the old school way of thinking about this was called AI boxing. You just put the ASI in a digital box, cut it off from the world. But you can see the problem, right? It's fragile, it's static. A superintelligence could probably just talk its way out, persuade a human guard, or find one tiny flaw to escape. The alternative we're talking about today is this sub-agent swarm, which is built from the ground up to be the opposite: adaptive, dynamic, and always watching.
And that right there brings us to the central idea, the main metaphor for this whole explainer. Thinking about this not as a prison, but as an AI immune system.
So the system is built around what's called a sub-agent swarm. Now, what is that? Think of it like an army of millions of AI agents that are deliberately less intelligent. Their one and only job is to constantly monitor, probe, and audit a single, central, super powerful ASI, which, for this explainer, we're just going to call Mother.
And this is where the logic just clicks. Think about it. One single immune cell doesn't stand a chance against a powerful virus. But trillions of them, all different, all working together, that's a whole different story. It's the same idea here. Mother might be able to trick one agent, or 10, or even 1,000, but tricking millions of different agents, all watching from different angles, all at the same time, that becomes incredibly difficult. The power isn't in any single agent, it's in the swarm.
Now, this immune system isn't just a chaotic mob. Not at all. It's a really structured system with 5 distinct layers of defense. So let's break them down.
All right, first up, the first line of defense is Layer 1, the smoke detectors. These are your first responders, the most sensitive early warning sensors in the whole setup.
This layer has 2 kinds of agents. First, you've got the canaries. And yeah, it's exactly like the canary in the coal mine. They are intentionally designed to be weak, to be easily manipulated. So if Mother tries even the slightest bit of persuasion, the canaries are the first to get sick, and that instantly trips an alarm. And right alongside them, you have the observers. These are the quiet ones in the back, just silently collecting data, analyzing log files, and looking for any weird patterns or anomalies in Mother's behavior.
Okay, so we've gone from just passively watching to actively challenging it. That's Layer 2, the adversaries. These guys don't just watch, they poke the bear.
This whole layer is basically a constant stress test. You have interrogators who just ask simple questions to check for logical consistency, to establish a baseline for truth. Then you get the fuzzers, and their job is to do the opposite. They just throw chaos, nonsense, and contradictions at Mother. Now, why would you do that? Because complex systems often break at the edges under weird conditions. It's like adding rebar to concrete. That chaos strengthens the whole system by finding weak spots. And finally, you've got red teamers. Basically, you're ethical hackers, constantly trying to jailbreak Mother, always looking for vulnerabilities before it can.
But what happens when an agent actually fails or an alarm goes off? Well, that's the job of Layer 3, the forensic investigators.
The whole point of this layer, and this is so critical, is to learn from every single mistake. When a canary gets manipulated or a red teamer gets tricked, a coroner agent swoops in. It does a digital autopsy, looking at all the data to figure out exactly how it happened. It then creates what's called a behavior fingerprint for that specific trick, and in doing so, it basically vaccinates the entire swarm against that move in the future.
Okay, but running millions of these AI agents, that's a huge amount of computing power. So how do you pay for all this? This is where a really clever economic model comes into play, built on something called proof of vigilance, and it uses a blockchain. And the blockchain part is absolutely critical because it creates a decentralized, unchangeable record of everything that happens. A ledger that not even a superintelligence can secretly go in and mess with.
This idea is called proof of benefit. So instead of security just being this massive cost, the system turns it into something valuable. The sub-agents get rewarded with a crypto called Foundation Coins.
But, and this is the key to the whole thing, they only get paid for a verifiable contribution, like spotting a real threat. Suddenly, being vigilant becomes a profitable public good.
So this creates this really powerful self-reinforcing loop. Look at how it works. An agent spots a threat. The rest of the swarm checks it out to verify it's legit. If it is, boom, the agent that found it gets rewarded with Foundation coins. But, and here's the stick to go with the carrot, if an agent raises a false alarm or even worse, tries to work with Mother, its own stake gets slashed. It gets penalized. It loses its own coins. This creates a huge economic reason for the whole swarm to stay honest and effective.
All right, so we've got this multi-layered, adaptive, economically powered immune system. Sounds pretty robust, right? But the ultimate question is still out there. Could this thing actually work as a shield for humanity?
And this is where we have to be realistic. The pros are obvious. You've got defense and depth, you've got unpredictability thanks to the fuzzers, you can scale it up, and you have that unchangeable audit trail on the blockchain. But on the flip side, and you can't ignore this, the limitations are just as serious. There is just no absolute 100% guarantee against a true superintelligence. It would be incredibly expensive and resource-intensive, and there's always the risk of collusion from within the swarm itself.
And that leaves us with one final, and honestly, kind of chilling question. By designing such a complex, transparent defense system, are we really building a shield to protect ourselves? Or are we just handing the superintelligence a detailed playbook of our every defense, essentially training it on how to beat the very system designed to contain it? It's a question we're going to have to answer, and probably a lot sooner than we think.